Welcome back. Chapter 11, Catherine. After a restless night, I wake up and stumble out of my bedroom, hoping Mom made a pot of coffee before she left for work. But the Mr. Coffee machine is clean and empty in the dark gallery kitchen. I fill the glass pot halfway with water and dump it into the reservoir, then open the cabinet to grab the tin of Maxwell House. There's a cardboard container of eggs next to the coffee. I stare at it dumbly for a second, then reach for it and open the tabs. 4 white eggs are nestled inside. I touch one of them. It's room temperature. Mom must have put them away here. They could be a salmonella factory by now. I drop the eggs into the trash can and the cardboard container into the recycling bin, watching as one of the eggs crack apart, ooze out of its shell. My head swims and I grip the edge of the counter. I haven't decided yet whether I'll undergo genetic testing to see if I've inherited the gene for early onset Alzheimer's. It's my own decision, one my mother can't deny me. I'll pay for it myself if it comes to that. Even if the gene is coding my future, it won't necessarily mean an early death sentence for me. Brilliant researchers are constantly working to find a cure. There will be, so many advances in the next few decades. And if I turn out to be carrying a mutated gene, I can avoid passing it on if I decide to have kids by undergoing in vitro fertilization. I would have the option of stopping this disease in its tracks, making it end with me. My palms feel sweaty and my thoughts are racing. The coffee maker's gurgling help pull me into the present moment. I grab a mug and walk over to it. Then I almost drop my mug. The liquid in the pot is clear. I forgot to put the grounds into the filter. My heart feels as if it's exploding, even as my mind searches for an explanation. I was obviously distracted. Who wouldn't be? There's no significance to what just happened. My mistake with the coffee isn't an echo of the one my mother made with the eggs. We all misplace cell phones and lose words and forget items we've made a mental list to pick up at the grocery store, especially when we have a lot on our mind. Those aren't signs of Alzheimer's. If we forget we even have a cell phone after we've been using it daily for years and get lost on the 1-mile drive home from the drugstore, even though we've driven the route countless times like my mother did, those can be signs of Alzheimer's. If I'm carrying the gene, it won't reveal itself for another 15 to 20 years, longer if I'm lucky. Still, it takes a minute for my pulse to slow to normal. I brew some coffee and inhale the rich hazelnut aroma as it drips into the pot. It gives me energy even before I take a sip. I hurry to my bedroom and grab a yellow legal pad out of my desk drawer. Then I go to the dining table with a mug of black coffee and sit down. I list a few facts I know about my mother and add my 2 new details to it. I open my laptop and begin to search for Virginia high schools with Panther mascots. An hour later, my mug is empty and several more pages of my pad are filled with all of which I've crossed out. All of which I've crossed out. I've been hopscotching around the internet, searching Facebook pages for different high schools and scrutinizing detailed maps of Virginia, and even checking out sports websites that contain high school football teams ranking. If there's a clear answer, it's eluding me. The urge to take out the trash nags me. I need to get a grip of the broken eggs and bloody paper towels and the other pieces of evidence of everything that has transpired in the last 24 hours. I tuck my legal pad into my bookshelf, sandwiching it in between 2 oversized hardbacks, and head out the door. Mom took the car today, so I head for the bus stop. My mother hates surprises, but I'm going to give her one. I'm going to visit her at work. Ooh, okay. All right, Catherine. Sam's is a brightly lit diner with shiny chrome and red pleather stools and booths, and a row of pies under glass domes on the long counter, and oversized laminated menus with pictures of food offered. Breakfast and pie are served all day. I once asked my mother who would eat pie early in the morning. Truckers, she told me. For some of them, morning is the end of their shift and they like a little dessert before they go to bed. I sit on the city bus, moving physically forward while looking backward in time. When I was smaller, the different restaurants where my mother worked seemed like magical places. I delivered stiff, shiny menus to tables. More than once, a customer tipped me $1 just for doing that small task, or sit on a stool, watching the cooks move with the speed of professional jugglers as they flipped burgers and decorated them with tomatoes and lettuce and buttered pieces of toast with one perfect swoop of a knife. Sometimes the cooks would slip me a scoop of chocolate ice cream with a cloud of sweet whipped cream. When the sugar kicked in, I spin around on a stool until I got dizzy or my mother noticed, whichever came first. As her disease progresses, my mother will stop coming to Sam's. A few months beyond that, she'll forget she was once a waitress. A few months past that, she'll forget who I am. I dig my nails into my palms. The burst of pain distracts my mind and pulls me out of the path of the dark, choppy wave. A few minutes later, the bus stops a few storefronts down from Sam's, and I step onto the sidewalk. I haven't been to my mother's workplace in at least a year, maybe even 2. It looks exactly the same. It's humming with the noise of dozens of conversation, the clanking of silverware against china plates, and soft rock music playing over speakers. All the booths are full, but I find an empty stool at the end of the counter. My mother doesn't notice me right away. She's taken an order from 2 women in the opposite corner of the restaurant. She isn't using a pad and pen. My mother never does for parties of 4 or less. That needs to be changed. That needs to change. She's not using a pad or pen, so she's using her mind. My mother steps away from the table and walks to the computer where the waitstaff inputs order for the cook. She presses a few buttons, then heads to the serving window and grabs what looks like BLT and fries from the warming shelves. She delivers the plate to a guy at table 6, then checks in on table 8. I can't hear her, but since they've already received their food, she's probably asking if they like refills of water or hot sauce for their omelets. My mother appears to be in command of her faculties. No one in the restaurant seems agitated. I can't see any customers trying to get her attention or frowning at their bill. During the early to mid stages, some people with Alzheimer's plateau for a while. Others have good days mixed with bad days. And I suspect my mother is having a good memory day now. But even though the progression can branch in different directions, the path always narrows to the same wretched, heartbreaking end. Catherine! I spin a quarter circle to my right and come face to face with Melanie, another waitress, who is my mother's closest friend. She leans in and gives me a hug. Melanie smells like my mother always does when she comes home from work. Her skin is perfumed with the scent of the kitchen grill. I've always liked Melanie. She has a gap between her front teeth that makes her big smile seem even more genuine, and her voice holds the gentle lilt of her southern roots. It's been forever, girl. Melanie pulls me back, beaming. Congrats on graduating. Your mom is so proud. I thank her, and as we chat, an idea floats into my mind. My mother is fiercely private. She won't tell Sam or Melanie about her diagnosis, at least not until she absolutely must. When work gets to be too much for my mom, when she can't find her way to the diner and wanders the streets, or starts a grease fire, or makes so many mistakes, customers are up in an uproar, she'll get fired. I'm not going to let things reach that point. I need eyes on my mom when I'm not around. I plan to ask Sam, but he can be a little grumpy. Even though I don't know Melanie terribly well since she lives across town, and she and my mom socialize every month or so at a bar midway between their places, she's my best bet. I'm about to ask Melanie if I can have her cell phone number so I can call her about a private matter when I feel a hand on my shoulder. I twist around and see my mom. Her reaction is the opposite of Melody. She's frowning. Why is she frowning? What are you doing here? I keep my tone light. I had a craving for French fries. Mom's expression tells me that if Melanie weren't witnessing this, we'd be having a different conversation. You came all this way for fries? Oh, what a nice daughter, Melanie interjects. Ruth, I can cover for you if you want to take a few. I'm already in the weeds. Thanks, though. A customer signals for his check and Melanie excuses herself to head to his table. Fries and iced tea? My mom asks. A flutter of memory. We're in a restaurant my mom worked at long ago, and she's serving me a tall glass of iced tea with a long silver spoon in it. I must have been about 6 or 7. It tasted delicious. I didn't know until later that she cut it with lemonade. I still drink iced tea that way, but now I know to ask for an Arnold Palmer, except when my mother is offering. She knows exactly what I like without my having to specify. My mom and I share a language that's all our own, one we've constructed through the years. We say pimple instead of apple because I couldn't pronounce the name of the fruit when I was a toddler, and she decided the term I came up with was better than the original. Rockamole for guacamole for the same reason. Anyone who's long-winded is a Daryl because we once had I'm going to highlight that word. I'm going to put it on the screen because I don't know how to pronounce it and I don't know the definition. A loquacious neighbor by that name. In a year or two, our shared language, one that's unique to us, will disappear too. I give myself a mental shake. If I focus on everything I'm going to lose, I'll also lose the present moment. And I have a mission to complete today. My mom swings by with my fries and drink a few minutes later, sliding a bottle of ketchup closer to me because she knows how much I love it. The fries are golden brown and crispy, but any pleasure I normally get from biting into them is muted. I keep my eyes on Melanie, but she doesn't come near my stool again. I finally seize my chance when my mother goes to take an order from a table of 8. They're probably office mates who work together in one of the buildings on this street. She greets them like they're regulars. Ooh, excuse me. I keep glancing at my mother while simultaneously trying to catch Melanie's attention. When she finally looks my way, I gesture for her to come over. Listen, I can't talk long, but I need to tell you something, I whispered. My mom, she's sick. My throat constricts. Melanie doesn't flinch or retreat in the face of strong emotion the way so many people do. What is it, honey? Alzheimer's. Early onset. The doctor is pretty certain. Melanie's expression doesn't change, but her eyes do. She's going to start. Melanie puts a hand on my arm. I know. My boyfriend's grandfather had it. I'm so sorry. My chin wobbles, but I hold it together. Has she made any mistakes at work yet? I don't want her to get in trouble. I see her casting back in her memory, searching for an overlooked clue. I haven't noticed a thing, she tells me, truly. That makes me feel a tiny bit better. I'm not the only one who didn't catch the symptoms early on. It also lends credence to my supposition that my mother's disease is still in a very early stage. That's good. Just keep me posted, okay? I will, honey. Here. Melody pulls a pen out of her apron and hands it to me. Write down your cell number on a napkin. I'll text you later so you can have mine. I do as she instructed, then glances over Melody's shoulder. My mom is still taking orders at her big table, but she's also sneaking peeks at us. She doesn't like that I'm talking to Melanie. She's probably worried we're having this exact conversation. One more thing. When you guys go out for drinks again, could you tell me your plans in advance? My mom and I have location sharing with each other, but if she forgets her phone at home or leaves it at the bar, wow, you still share your location with your mom? Wish I can get my kids to do that with me. Melanie's voice is warm. She's trying to comfort me without saying sympathetic words. Of course, I'll let you know, hun, but a guy at the nearby table gestures to her, making a writing motion in the air to signal he wants his check, but Melanie doesn't acknowledge him. She's frowning as her eyes grow far away. There's something she's remembering, a loose thread, the genesis of an unraveling. A loose thread, the genesis of an unraveling. Maybe my mother has been making mistakes, but that haven't tallied into a pattern in Melanie's mind until now. I brace myself. I wish your mom would take me up on drinks. I've been trying to get her to go out for years. But she always says she's too tired and you're all the company she needs. Melanie squeezed my shoulders and hurries off to tend to her table. Melanie's words were perfectly clear, but I can't make sense of them. Melanie says she and my mother have never gone out for drinks. The blind dates my mother supposedly had, the one she told me Melanie and her boyfriend arranged, didn't exist. All those girls' night out when my mother came home late acting tipsy were a fabrication. I don't know how long I sit there stunned, the fries growing cold on my plate. Finally, something compels me to lift my eyes. Across the restaurant, my mother is staring at me. She's like a statue in the midst of a swirl of the busy restaurant. When she catches me looking, she whips around, walks towards the kitchen. That's the end of chapter 11. Okay. Catherine, you done found out some things about your mother. I think she faking. Is she faking, y'all? I'ma say I was believing her, but now I'm not believing her because she's been lying to Catherine about her hanging out with Melody for drinks, and Melody just spilled the beans. So when Ruth saw Catherine talking to Melody, she had to know something went down. Okay, now how is Ruth going to handle this? How is she going to get out of this one? And how is Catherine going to approach her mom, knowing her mother's temper and all? Her mother, and another thing, her mother got her thinking that she might have Alzheimer's as she getting older. She better find out quick, right? Okay, so woo, it's getting kind of juicy there, ain't it? Okay, so there was one word I don't know how to pronounce, and I do not know the definition. So stay tuned for the definition portion. Okay, and I'm back for the definition portion. The word that I couldn't pronounce is Loquacious. And this is how it is pronounced.
Loquacious.
Oh, that's how loquacious is. I know this word loquacious, but it's an adjective and it's tending to talk a great deal, talkative. All right, so anyone who's long-winded is Daryl because we once had a loquacious neighbor by that name. I knew that definition. Y'all probably knew it too. But anyway, that is the end of the definition video. I shall see you in the next chapter, which is 12.